Hi, this is John, and welcome to another edition of Statistics Tell a Story. This is week 14 of the NFL. I have five games. I'm not going to list in any particular order. I kind of like them all pretty close to each other. I will start with tonight's game, which is Green Bay actually laying 120 now, getting 3.5 points. My model has this actually at 2.5 points, surprisingly. Detroit, very good team, best team in the league by my both of my models. I actually have Green Bay as the fourth best team in the league. Also, the two models that I use. A couple things with Detroit, they've blown out some very weak teams. The tough teams, top 10 teams that they played, most or all of them have been close. When they played the Packers a couple weeks ago, maybe 3, 4 weeks ago, they actually were outgained by about 150 yards, and I believe it was 6.6 yards per play to 4.7, almost a 2 points per play difference. And I think Jordan Love was banged up, but he might be banged up all year. But either way, so Detroit, well, a very formidable team, and they are at home. I don't know that they're quite the juggernaut that they may appear to be. They've also won, I believe it's 10 games in a row. The my data analysis has found that when you get on those big streaks, the more that you win, the more likely you are not to cover, let alone possibly win, and due to emotionally let down, so forth. Um, I recall, I can think back to the 1985 Bears. Everyone thought they might go undefeated. I think they were 11 and 0 on Monday night against the Dolphins. They were a small favorite, and I remember making a side bet with a friend. I said, "This is going to be the game they lose," and they were trounced by the Dolphins. You can't get up every game. Further, Detroit is banged up, particularly on defense, and so Mike LaFleur, I like as a coach, particularly, he's been good in December, and so I like Green Bay getting 3.5, laying 120. The Rams against the Bills. The Rams are getting 3.5 points. Kind of a similar game. The Bills are the third best team by my model. They've had 6 games in a row where they have scored at least 30 points. I think that's the 10th longest streak in NFL history. You look at some of the teams they beat up on, it's really uh, for the most part, weak teams. The Rams are very averages. I have them as a slightly above average team. My model has this at 3, but so not a lot of model value, but I do have a trend working against the Bills. And with 3.5 points past that key number of 3, I look for the Rams to keep it close. So I'm on the Rams plus 3.5. The Giants, I'm going to probably keep betting them until they cover. They're getting 4.5 points against the Saints. The one question I would have that others have, who are the Saints to be laying 4.5 points to anybody? The Giants, uh, one of the worst teams in the league. They're again, my model has them as the seventh worst team in the league. That's not atrocious. It's bad. It is in New York. I have the Saints just a few notches ahead of them. I actually have this pretty close to a pick'em game. Excuse me. This is kind of a model driven game. As far as have the Giants quit yet, I don't know. I'm one of the believers that few teams quit. I think these guys dedicate their life to playing professional sports. Very often they're playing for their job. The coach, I think, is certainly coaching for his job. So I will take the 4.5 points against the Saints. I have the Cardinals minus 2.5 points against the Seahawks. The model here has this pretty close to a 2.5 point favorite for the Cardinals. Not much model value. The Cardinals I have is having played the toughest schedule in the league. Teams are pretty similar. There's a little bit of a revenge angle from the Cardinals having lost a few weeks ago to Seattle. Seattle's also come off a few emotionally draining wins, and there's a trend that would play against them. So I like the Cardinals laying 2.5 points. Finally, I like the 49ers. They are laying 4 points against the Bears. You have maybe the two, excuse me, most volatile teams in the NFL. Who would have believed San Francisco at this point of the season would be 5-7, the defending NFC champs? Everything that seemingly could have gone wrong for them has gone wrong. Many injuries, some underachieving. Again, it's easy to think that they're going to pack it in and maybe play for next year. McCaffrey's now out for the year. Ayuk's been out for the year. Debo Samuel has clearly underperformed. They've had injuries on the offensive line, on the defense. I think there is still enough talent that they're going to. There are a couple trends that play in their favor, that play actually on teams that have played subpar, having been a very good team the previous year. So the 49ers would certainly qualify for that. Chicago, on the other hand, is also underachieved. They just had a coaching change, so who knows what's going to happen. I would call this a very volatile game. If you stay away from any of these five, I'd probably pick this. But I really like the Shanahan offense. I look for the 49ers to come back. I like Brock Purdy as a quarterback. They were blown out last week by the Bills in the snow. And again, this was what I would call a hidden vigorish game on behalf of San Francisco. Blown out twice in a row, 20 plus points. I really think they're going to get it together. They may not make the playoffs. I think they're going to go down fighting. If anything, for pride, this is a team defending NFC champs, came within a whisker of winning the Super Bowl last year. They're at home, and I look for them to cover the 4 points against Chicago. So there you have it. 5 games on the slate for Week 14 in the NFL. Appreciate it if you hit like or subscribe if you have not already. And I'll see you next time on Statistics Tell a Story. Thank you for tuning in.